How long does it actually take to charge one of these things up? A full electric car. It's something that's often misunderstood, or at least wildly exaggerated, certainly online. Technically, it's correct. It may indeed take 45 minutes to add another 200 miles of range into one of these things, or, I don't know, 8-9 hours at home. But that's not the correct question. That's not what you should be asking. How long this takes to charge is immaterial, because you don't have to stand next to it when it's doing it. It's how much time you take out of your life. Now, I'm not saying that these aren't particularly inconvenient or they're better than petrol when it comes to purely refueling, but it's probably not what many people out there think in terms of how long or how much time is lost. Now, let me be very clear at this stage. If I couldn't charge from home, and I've said this for the last decade of owning EVs, I wouldn't have one. It's simply way too inconvenient, possible, but it's not something that any realistic person would ever do. I'm not saying there aren't people out there that can own an EV and do today without home charging, but it's a massive advantage. So going forward, everyone I'm talking to right now in this video is someone that can charge from home. So let me clarify what I've just said there. It's not something that you have to worry about how long it takes a car to charge so much. It's how much time you waste waiting for it to charge. That's the only thing that matters. Because again, with a petrol car, you stood there waiting for it to refuel and it only takes several minutes, but that's several minutes where you can't do anything else. Whereas an EV takes many hours at home anyway, and well, you can go and do other things. The best analogy is the mobile phone analogy. You don't worry how much time it takes to charge your phone because you do it overnight and you just plug it in at your bedside table, and it's never been a factor in purchasing a phone, I don't think, is it? How long it takes to fill the battery. 95% of the journeys that I do, 95% of the miles, should I say, is done by home charging. And it takes me, what, 30 seconds to plug it in and 30 seconds to unplug it. So I spend 1 minute, let's say I charge 3 times a week, and I do 25 to 30,000 miles a year. So 3 times, that's 3 minutes a week I waste by refueling. But it's the long journey, isn't it? That's the one that people worry about. You read the technical things and it says, I don't know, 200 miles of range added in 40 minutes or something like that. Even though you'll only do that journey probably 2 or 3 times a year at best. It's always a factor. It's the what if scenario. People always find the worst case scenario that will almost never happen and then decide on that. What I'm saying is it's not realistically like that. There's real world examples I'm about to give you now, but I can't do it outside here. I have to go somewhere a little bit more truthful. Now, of course, when I say that word, I do mean the whiteboard of truth. All hail. So this is a journey that we have done for many years. It's down to my parents' house. We live in North Yorkshire, they live down south, and it's something we've done in many petrol cars and electric cars over the years. So we're very familiar with it. So this is just one example to highlight my point that what you might think happens sometimes will, but the vast majority of the time won't. So this is a 500-mile round trip from our house to my parents' house, 250 miles each way. We do go the same way, both directions. I've just split this up on the whiteboard to make it easier to see. So let's start with the petrol engine first, which again, we've done this many times in. You would probably think, well, you would fill up at home, so you're losing, what, 6-7 minutes? And then you would drive there, and certainly in the car that we had for about 6-7 years, it wouldn't do 500 miles, it'd do about 400. So we'd fill up there as you would expect, and then just drive all the way back. So essentially we're losing, let's say, 15 minutes in a petrol car by refueling. Once before, once when we're there, just because it's convenient, and then the journey is just there and back again. Now let's switch to an EV. Even if we go off a modern EV that can do 250 miles in the real world, and there's plenty of them now, that has modern charging standards, shall we say, speeds, you're not going to be doing that in one go. Even if it does 250 in the real world, you don't get it down to 0. And my parents don't have a charger either, they can't charge at their house. So effectively what would happen, we would probably charge, in fact what we do is we'll charge about here, either Peterborough or Cambridge, if anybody's interested. Peterborough's got a nice kebab place. And there you go. And then we would charge enough to get us there and then back again, essentially to the same place, and just go home. So what someone would perceive is, well, the petrol thing has no stops. It's literally 0 stops for fuel, even though in reality, quarter of an hour. Whereas the EV, that's got, let's say, 45 minutes there, 45 minutes there. It's an hour and a half worse in an EV. Now let's look at the reality of the situation. I'm moving my little counters, give me a second. This is, on a good day, 6.5 hours each way. And that's, again, if the traffic is kind. It's been 11 hours at worst when there was a bad accident, but I would say the average is about 7 to 7.5 hours to complete this journey, because we're doing it at during the day, essentially. That is something that you are nobody out there is doing 6, 7 hours or more without stopping. That would be ridiculous. It would be dangerous for you, the people in your car, and everybody around you. The highway code, I think from memory, it's been a while, suggests that you stop every 2 hours. No one really does that. A professional driver, HGV driver, they by law have to stop, is it every 4.5 hours? There are some variables in this. So by the law, they couldn't do this entire journey without stopping for like 30, 40 minutes. So what I'm saying is, even in a petrol car, even when we did this exact journey in our Mini or, well, anything, we had an Octavia, we would stop at the same place to get something to eat and just for a break. In a petrol car, especially if you've got a child or children, you're going to be stopping at least once on a 6.5 to 7.5 hour journey. It would be ridiculous to say that you don't do that. And again, on the same on the way back. So although you don't have to stop in a petrol car, you do. According to government statistics, these are our official statistics, 99% of journeys in the UK are below 100 miles. 99%. So if you're not getting an EV because of these long journeys, it's literally just a handful of times a year where you may lose out. But if you can charge at home, you're winning every week. In fact, you're probably saving 5 minutes, 10 minutes a week by not having to visit a petrol station, because charging at home is literally just going like that. Now let me give you another scenario, which is in the future. It's not right now, but it's not far off. Now most modern EVs, certainly ones that family size, would do this without stopping. So I upgrade our standard range Model 3 for whatever, something brand new. We can drive all the way there without stopping if we were stupid enough to do so. And because it's the future, my mum and dad now have a charger. So we drive all the way there, we stay a couple of nights as we usually do and charge whilst we're there, and then we just drive all the way back. Which, if anything, is more convenient than a petrol car, because you don't have to visit the petrol station at either end. 1 minute there, 1 minute there. We are the limiting factor now, not the car. Yes, if you've got an EV that does 100 miles, 130 miles, it's going to be a very different kettle of fish. But I'm talking about modern stuff now and going forward from today. And of course, if you can charge from home. Because if you can't, then I wouldn't recommend getting one at this stage. So what if you're doing a 500-mile trip in one go, as in it's 500 miles just to get to where you're going, which we do at least once a year when we go and do the North Coast 500 or thereabouts. And that's, I don't know, 10 hours or something from us. It's an obscenely long journey where you're going to be stopping a minimum of twice. One will be an enforced stop at T-base services because they do the nicest pints, and the other one will be because we need to get out and stretch his legs, we need a pee, we need something to eat, take your pick. If you've got kids, it changes all this. So yes, if you're a travelling salesman, an EV is probably not for you. Nobody is saying it is. It's not there yet. But for the majority of people watching this who can charge at home, again, that's who this video is aimed at, don't look at the statistics and think, well, hang on a minute, if they're telling me it takes, let's say, 45 minutes to add 200 miles of range to a car, so that's 500 miles, so that's 45 times 2 plus the extra 100. It's 2 and a bit hours of charging to complete that journey. Well, no, because you're leaving with a full tank, as it were, so that takes 200 miles off straight away, and then you're charging, or rather the car's charging, whilst you're doing something else. It's a bit of a cliche these days, but it is something that completely changes the picture of what people perceive as 45 minutes for an extra 200 miles of range. I don't think so. when it comes to reliability, I wouldn't worry about it. So we're talking about service stations, the big kind of motorway stops here when you're doing a long journey. The reliability isn't so much a problem anymore. It occasionally crops up, but for the most part, it's not an issue. However, what sometimes is an issue, certainly on bank holiday Mondays or something like that, is that the charger may be busy, or chargers may be busy. I came back from Farnborough, for example, last week, and that was a fully charged show, and I got to, I don't know, A services, I can't remember where it was, somewhere not far from London, and I had to wait 7 or 8 minutes for somebody to vacate the charger. You know, there were, I don't know, 8 or 9, something like that, 10 chargers. So that is 10 minutes that you're not going to get back. That's 10 minutes worse than this scenario I've just shown you. Again, it doesn't really happen that much, and it only really happens at peak times at worst, if it ever does. And things like bank holiday Mondays, they're the worst because the services themselves are rammed. You know, just before the school holidays start, you know, when people all travel wherever on the Friday when schools break up, then yes, that could be an issue. In the same way that sometimes you go to a petrol station and there's a queue, or there's a run on the petrol stations and they run out. Or as I've seen recently, Costco, because it's 4 pence per litre cheaper than the others, there's people queuing up 20-30 minutes to get cheaper petrol. So let's not pretend this doesn't happen in petrol world, it's definitely worse in EV world. So I will concede that today, in 2025, some journeys will be not as nice as the scenario I've just presented here. There may be 15-20 minutes added onto that, but the majority of them will be fine. So this is the take home from this, and it's a phrase we say all the time when it comes to EVs in general. They suit most people most of the time. When again 99% of journeys are lower than 100 miles and your EV can do 250 say, how many times are you going to be inconvenienced? Then balance that with how much time you save by not having to visit a petrol station, which, let's face it, they're not particularly nice places to go. They stink. There's always some idiot doing a weekly shop in the petrol station shop. And it's freezing in winter and all that sort of stuff. And it's a lot more expensive than home charging. So this is the key, isn't it? If you can't, again, the home charging is the massive advantage. But I would rather have 95% of my refueling done at home and have the occasional inconvenience of a long journey. To use the mobile phone analogy again, if I said to you, we've got 2 phones. This one and this one are identical in every way, apart from the battery in this lasts a week. The battery in this lasts just a day or 2. Which would you go for? You'd go for this one, wouldn't you? Because it lasts a week. Who wouldn't? But what then if I told you that this would be more expensive to charge up and you have to go to the phone shop, whereas this you can charge at home? Which would you pick? All of a sudden, this is the obvious choice because, well, yeah, I have to charge it more often, but it's so easy to charge. So the problem isn't so much long journeys with EVs. It's not, you know, the modern range or the modern charge speeds, which is only going to get better. It's the fact that home charging is such an advantage. It's like the main deciding factor on whether someone gets an EV, a full electric car. So there we go. Thanks for watching. If you remember, you get these videos earlier, usually on Sundays. And don't forget about Driving On podcast. When we finally resurrect it, it will be, well, it's on its own channel, which is Driving OHM. So please do subscribe to that or listen to it on your podcasty places. So again, let me know what situation you're in. Are you anti-EV? Comment. Are you pro-EV but it just doesn't work for you? Have you got an EV now but thought that it was going to be a lot worse before you got it and then actually I prefer it now? Or have you got an EV and you hate the thing? Let me know where you are. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you soon.